Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful podcast. Thanks for joining us on this Monday evening. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Of course, we're live with you guys on YouTube. Make sure, as always, guys, hit that thumbs up, hit that bell, subscribe to the channel, help support us over here. And also, I've been loving how the chat's been flooded the last few shows. Keep that up. And another thing that's very underrated, the comment section on the video below. It helps get the program recognized and helps the show, and it makes it funner for us. But yeah. Well, thought today was going to be like an NBA Mondays free agency starter, but Chris Grier and the boys decided to stir the pot. Not only we traded Ramsey, but also Jonnu Smith. And yes, he's back. 2-9. He's back, boys. Minkah Fitzpatrick. I couldn't believe it when it came across my screen. It was kind of a weird start of the day. They broke the trade. Okay, he got traded to the Steelers. No surprise. Then it was like, where's the return? No return for like 10 minutes. Then it was Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then they added the Jonnu Smith part. So we're going to deep dive in all that. What's next? Also, looks like they're going to be searching for another tight end. We'll break all this down. To help me do that, I got an all-star lineup here. Of course, my co-host is always Jason Sarney. And we have Finn Sammy from Finn's TV. And, of course, the man Bobby Shouse from the Dive Bar Podcast. Fellas, are you ready? Thanks for joining us.
Let's go.
Ready, glad to be here. Glad y'all. Anytime y'all want me on, I'm always glad to join y'all guys. I appreciate what y'all do. I respect all of you on the screen right now. So it's going to be a good conversation.
And Bobby, speaking of that, the Dolphins shipped 2 players out, but I got a shipment in today, baby.
That wasn't playing, Bobby. Wasn't playing.
Dude, that was
live,
awesome, Jason.
Live podcasting, baby. Live
Dude,
podcasting.
That's awesome, baby. It's show business, baby.
You can't the Fins Faithful Pod and the Dive Bar. We do it for you here. And Jason literally, he 5 minutes before the show said, "Look what I just got," and it came in. So that's cool. I gotta get. Awesome. I feel bad. I gotta start ordering you guys stuff. I need a hat. I need the whole setup.
You ain't gotta do nothing.
I gotta do all that. All right. All right. So me and I gotta be honest. When the trade happens, I need time to digest all this stuff. I went live for about 20 minutes. Sammy joined me. But I'm the type of person that has to digest this information, process it. So we've had a few hours now to do it. We'll start with this. Sammy and I spoke. So we'll start with you, Jason, then Bobby, then I guess work our way around to Sammy. Your kind of thoughts on the trade in general before we get into details. We'll start with you, Jason.
I mean, 2 different scenarios when you're looking at Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. Jalen wanted out. He was disgruntled. Nothing was changing it. I don't care what Tariq Hill was saying. It was a done deal. He was getting out. It was just a matter of when and where. The Jonnu Smith thing was, you know what? $12 million is very rich for the Dolphins in terms of extending an already contracted player. So this was almost the Dolphins kind of helping Jonnu out, getting him out to where he wants to be and get paid. He did not want to be in Miami. So there's a little differentiation between both players getting traded out circumstantially. For what the Dolphins bringing back in, Minkah Fitzpatrick, a couple of years after they obviously drafted and then a year later traded him to Pittsburgh, but he's a very interesting addition in compensation. All of us were thinking, what round? What are we going to do? What are we going to get? And that's where I think Chris Grier has a strength. Is maybe stubbornly not doing a deal until he is absolutely happy with the return. So if he wasn't happy with picks, he kicked some other tires around and ended up bringing back a 2.0 and Minkah Fitzpatrick to come back for a second go with Miami. So I like it. I don't think it's something that we can grade immediately. Please don't ask for grades. I'm not going to give a grade.
What about percentages?
No percentages. No grades, no percentages.
That's my favorite thing.
I know. Trust me, I know. But this is something to look at, mid-season, obviously in the matchup on Monday night when they play each other, these 2 teams. That's going to be fire. I feel like when Minkah and Jonnu come to a kind of a collision, it'll be like, what was that, like Iron Man and Captain America or something, or Thor? But that would be
week
fun
15,
watching.
right? That's week 15. Yeah.
But I think it just fit into the mold of what the Dolphins are trying to do. Get a little younger, which they did. Save a little money, which they did, and make sure that everyone in the locker room is someone that wants to be here and has a greater goal as a team of moving forward the best which they can. And I think that they did those 3 things.
You're on mute, Bobby.
Look, I was bringing so much hype. I was bringing so much fire. They knew they had to calm me down. No, but I said, like Jason said, he makes a good point. You have to break these things down into like separate moves almost and look at them. So like Jonnu is obviously the bittersweet one because he wanted to be a Dolphin. He had the greatest, year of a tight end in Dolphins history, but I think before I say anything, I want to say the biggest thing that made me feel good about it, and I think everyone will agree with this, is that, like Jason said, we're sitting here waiting. Is it a 5th or a 6th? Never in the whole process did I hear anything about a player in return or possible players in return, and especially not a 3-time All-Pro safety in return. So I think that because I was just expecting it to be kind of a Monday funeral where, okay, we lost Ramsey, give us our 6th, let's move on. When that came through 10 minutes later, and I think they did that strategically, they almost like dropped a little and it hit you with another hook and then knocked you out. Man, when they dropped Minkah Fitzpatrick is coming home, I mean, like I said, I wasn't expecting anything, and now you're telling me we're getting Minkah Fitzpatrick, and we all know the history of Minkah Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins, so that made it even crazier. Like, if you would have gave me, like, go down a list, top 100 players possibly could come back from any of these teams for Jonnu in a trade or Ramsey in a trade, nobody's listing Minkah because you just realized the history there. You don't even think it's a possibility. So I'm very interested to hear from him as well, and to hear kind of like how that went into it, because they had to talk to him first, get the green light, make sure you're like, hey, we know how things went the first time. Are you cool with this? So I'm very interested to hear his side of it. But man, I was super hyped. Like I said, I didn't expect to get anything in return really, besides like a 5th or 6th. We come out of the day younger with a All-Pro safety, and hey, I'm good. I'm good with it.
Sammy.
Well, those ESPN specials that said, "What if I told you?" What if I told you the Dolphins will get a 5th-round pick and Minkah Fitzpatrick? When I saw that, I thought it was a joke. I was chatting with Steve Hallen, my co-host on Fins TV, and I'm saying, "Is this April Fool's?" Because it didn't make sense at first. I'm like, "This doesn't make any sense." I had to double check if it was the correct Alan Chester stream, and it was right. But Minkah Fitzpatrick is 28. His problems when he was in Miami basically were with Flores style. He didn't like Flores style. His mother didn't like Flores very, very much. So that got him out of here. He's mature. He's a different person by now. By now, he's a 3-time All-Pro. And you're taking Jalen Ramsey and his huge contract, and Jonnu Smith, who we all love, but he wanted a pay raise and he got it for $12 million a year, I believe, for a 3-time All-Pro in his prime and a 5th-round pick. I went mind blown when I saw people on X bashing the trade. What else do they want? What else do they want? If they had traded Jalen Ramsey for a 5th, I would have said, yeah, that contract was too huge. I guess they could not get anything else. But to get Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 5th-round pick for Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, I think they won this trade. They won this trade by far. Eventually, people will come around. But for now, I understand people. I wanted the Jalen Ramsey experiment to work out. I love Jonnu Smith. I thought he was great with the Dolphins. But, you saw Young Embry a couple of weeks ago bashing him, saying that he needs to do more. He needs to improve his blocking. And then the salary raise came about, and I said, yeah, it makes too much sense. So I would not be shocked if the Dolphins go in another direction when looking for a tight end. But for me, for now, today, at this moment, the Dolphins won this trade by far. They basically Chris Grier stole the same, if you ask me.
Yeah, we'll get your answers on who won the trade. Quick yes or no in a second. But here's my
thought. No percentage, yes.
No percentage.
No grades.
No grades.
No grades.
Here's how I always grade a trade. Who got the best player in the deal?
Bang.
Always.
Oh, we did.
And I look, I've heard a lot of stuff about declining, last 2 years. His numbers, his PFF grades, and some of his numbers have declined. But even so, he's still the best player in this trade. You guys mentioned he's 28, 29 years old.
Yes, 28.
Has 2 more years on a good number on the contract. Even if he's a declining player, think about individually what you were going to get. We did mock trades on this show, Jason, right? Okay, best case scenario for Ramsey, you get a young corner that's a 3rd or 4th string and a 4th-round pick or a 3rd-round pick at best. Jonnu, 4th-round pick. So you turned, let's say, 2 4s into an all-pro safety who, regardless, is still in the prime of his career. I got to and you turned the situation in what a player wasn't going to be here. Let's be honest. And another player you weren't going to pay. That's clear. Okay, that became very clear. Into Minkah Fitzpatrick. And as much, I got to say this, and this hurts me to say it, as much as I've been on Chris Grier, I think, Jason, you make a good point. He's stubborn on what he wants on a deal, and he won't, and he'll hold his ground until it starts getting a little hot and the team gives in and gives what they want. So, tip of the cap to Chris Grier. At the end of the day, when you look at it overall, you lost Jonnu and Jalen, you bring in Minkah. I think we're probably a wash, right? But that's a positive. If I told you we were going to be a wash after we trade Jalen Ramsey, you guys would have told me we're nuts. We were going to be. But
well, let's add one thing too. The amount of money that the Dolphins do not have to pay Ramsey in the aftermath of this is another win. You know, that could have been all right. I like the parameters. I'm spitballing here. You know, the Dolphins and Grier could be like, I like the parameters, but you got to eat more of this contract. Yeah. Day goes by, and then finally the right number comes out. And kudos to them for hanging tough and making sure that this was the most fiscally responsible deal that they could do.
Yeah, let's talk about the money for a second. As I talked to Bobby earlier in the day, I was having trouble figuring out this whole. I'm not the best at the capologist and all the cap situation, but it seems like that $4 million roster bonus they initially ate when he was on the roster after a certain point. They ate 3 more of that. So in total, out of the 26 mil, they ate about 7 mil of it. You know, Ramsey got a separate bonus or a raise with the Steelers. So in total, it looks like, I mean, don't quote me on this, is my best kind of guess. They sent out like $25 million in salary and they brought back only 15. So they also added cap space. It's very confusing. Yeah. I've heard we freed up $30 million. I heard we lost the deal. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about have any more clarity on the money situation. Does that sound about right to you guys?
Sounds basically kind of right. When all this salary goes back and forth, I think it's pretty much, you know, I hate giving ranges, but say $20 to $25 million of cap space, 20 to 25 when it all comes down to it. And I don't think anybody thought it was going to be that high. So whatever the actual particulars are, it's a lot better than probably what people thought.
All right, so let's go around the horn real quick. Dolphins win the trade. We'll start with Bobby, work our way up, Sammy to Jason. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Or wash, yes. or wash. It could be a wash.
I think it's a yes, and I do have some. I'll leave some explanation because we're just doing real quick roundtable.
Or go ahead. Or you can.
I just think there's correlating moves as well. So like you look at it right now as the trade itself, but I already know the Dolphins have been in contact with 2 different tight ends today, and I already know that
Hit that buzzer.
Hey. And I already know that they had veteran corners on standby saying, hey, let us work this Jalen Ramsey out thing, and we're going to revisit this. Just be patient with us. So you got to understand, some things won't work out, some things will, but you got to understand with every move, and especially with Grier, he moves in bunches. They'll be over there poking him with a stick for 3 months. Hey, y'all want to see a dead body? And then next thing you know, he wakes up and people are like,
yes.
I'm glad you say that, Bobby, because there is so much intricacy that goes down with not just the trade partners, the other 29, 30 teams that could be involved with potential calls in or out. So he's not sleeping. He's making sure he's doing the right freaking thing.
It's almost like with Grier, the first domino falls and then it's all good. And then he has a little run here of kind of moves that kind of set up right before training camp. So I agree with you. And are you talking veteran trade market or like veteran
trade market? Trade market.
I hope one's in the ATL, you know. We'll leave it at that.
I don't hope.
Oh, you don't? Okay. I've heard the Las Vegas one or the Oakland one, whatever their name is. Don't count on that one.
Myers.
Yeah, Myers said don't. I know they're interested, but don't. I don't know. That could be leverage. That could be. You know, we'll see. I'm trying to get Bobby to give me some hints here, but he won't do it. Maybe I'll fair.
I know we can get into it. All right, yeah, we can get into it. I don't hold back, boys. Look, I know we all heard about the Michael Mayer stuff. Yeah. I had somebody connected with the Raiders that said that is getting loud today.
Oh, okay.
That like the Michael Mayer stuff is active. I've also heard recently from someone reliable that the Dolphins have checked in on Mark Andrews and the Ravens.
Okay, that makes sense. I've heard that name too. I'd rather go the younger route, but those are two names, Andrews, they got their tight end situation up there in Baltimore. So, yeah, I like Kyle Pitts because I just like the athleticism, and I think we can unlock him here. I think there's something to be unlocked. I always like to get guys I like to have foresight, like guys I always look for guys in situations that are not getting the best out of them, that you can kind of grab them and kind of take them to the next level. And I think he's one of those players. I don't know. I'd imagine, though, the Falcons are going to give up probably going to want a little more than what we think the price is. Like in our world, we're like, okay, we'll give you a third or a fourth, and they're probably wanting like a second because they took them high. So, yeah. All right, Sammy, won the trade, yes or no, or wash?
Absolutely, they won the trade. I could not believe that. As soon as I saw the trade, it get adding layers to the trade. It was way too good. Chris Grier gets a lot of bashing, rightfully some lots of the time. When he hits, he really hits. He did the first time he did it with Jalen Ramsey was a hit. There were rumors about a second round pick for Ramsey, and even more he got it for a third. And now we talk so much about the huge contract that Jalen Ramsey has, and to find a way to get a 3-time All-Pro for Jalen Ramsey. Straight up would have been a great trade, but you get a fifth. You have to say Jonnu Smith, but you get a fifth back. I think it's great. They won the trade.
Jason.
I think it was good for both teams. The Dolphins accomplished what they want to accomplish. The Steelers get two good players to make their push. So, look, if the Steelers win a couple playoff games and make a real run at this thing, and the Dolphins falter, that's who won the trade. But if both teams are moving positive in the right direction, I do think that you could look at this as, I don't want to call it a wash, but this was just a good, sound move for different reasons for both teams. Miami is clearly painting a picture of what they want their team to be, and they need money to do it. They need youth to do it, and they got to change up the culture, and they just did all those things. And the Steelers, look, I don't think you could be an unhappy Steeler fan right now. And for the Dolphins, you end up taking a first-round draft pick in Jalen Ramsey, and you turn it into a first-round draft pick in Minkah Fitzpatrick. And the Jonnu thing, you're swapping picks, and you ended up getting the better pick. So both ways, the way you break it down, I think can look great for Miami, and the Steelers could make some noise in their own way.
Yeah. Look, again, I think at the end of the day, both teams improved. I think the Steelers improved. And I think the Dolphins, how do I feel about the Dolphins, 9 this morning till now? I think they're about the same. But again, that's a win. Like, we're talking getting back a 5th round, 4th round pick for Jalen Ramsey. Your team would be significantly worse. And we'll get into how they're going to use him and all this other kind of stuff, because I think you see, shout out to the boy Clown Prince, the boy Minkah is back. I think we got to also look at how now the cornerback position on the defense might be the least priority for Weave, and we move that money to the safety position, and like he's got his Kyle Hamilton now. Now, look, I think they need to upgrade a corner, but like we're going to talk about guys that are going to bring in a corner, but look, they might go with these young guys. And we talked about in the beginning, the front seven was the priority this offseason. Weaver's philosophy changed. Pressure up front, dominate up front, leave pressure on the secondary. You don't need $20 and $18 million on both sides. You move that money to the safety position. So, that's something I think that we're not taking into account here. And I know, Bobby, you said, they've contacted some corners. We have the let's talk about some of these guys now. The Asante Samuels, that's the guy I would want, but I think he's somebody you have to wait until July. Rasul Douglas. Bobby, who do you think they'll bring in, one or two guys or fairly soon, or kind of wait till closer to camp, which is right around the corner, actually?
Well, I think your first and biggest domino is out of the way. So I think that the window starts now. Now, Grier does like to wait, and every day that goes by, the deal gets cheaper, but the league thinks that as well. That's kind of a known thing. Yeah. But I think anything could happen at this point. I think that Rasul Douglas is probably the closest to being a Dolphin as of right now.
Yes.
But nothing official, of course. And yeah, I think it could happen anytime now. The Ramsey thing was a big domino, not just for the Dolphins, for kind of the league. Everybody was kind of waiting on that deal to go down. That deal had a lot of things held up. You might see, not just for the Dolphins, but a lot of little moves fall through now.
Yeah. Shout out to over the 100 people we have in here. Guys, make sure you hit that like, subscribe. If you're watching anywhere else, make sure you come on over to YouTube. We got Bobby Shouts from the Dive Bar, Fins, Sammy from Fins TV, and Jason. Starting, we're breaking down the blockbuster trade of Minkah Fitzpatrick back to the Dolphins. Karen had a good question here. Do you think Minkah is happy in being traded out of Pittsburgh? Do we know anything about his situation, the relationship? We know Flores is out of the situation. That's kind of was the problem, right? We haven't heard anything about how Minkah probably feels about this trade. Anybody wants a job. Bobby, you probably know best if you heard anything.
Like I said earlier, I'm excited myself to hear from Minkah and to kind of hear about, like, did he see it coming? Is this something he maybe asked for behind the scenes? That's a lot of things come to the surface after something like this goes down. Maybe he quietly asked for this. You never know. Maybe they didn't think, Minkah was ever going to be in these talks. And then, as all this stuff was going on, he kind of came to him and said, hey, look, if there's an opportunity for me, I wouldn't mind new scenery or whatever. But as far as I could see and could tell, Minkah was happy in Pittsburgh. I thought he was going to be a Pittsburgh guy to the end, but things changed. I'm more interested to see, like, how the Dolphins were, like, presented it back to him and how he, took that.
Yeah, Jason, Sammy, you guys have anything coming on? How do you feel like Minkah coming back? Do you think there'll be any issues, or you think he's happy?
Go ahead, Sammy.
Well, again, it's been a while since that happened. He was a kid when he was drafted by the Dolphins. Brian Flores, known for for being kind of a tough guy, and reports are that his mother wasn't happy with the situation with the Dolphins. At least that's what I remember at that time. So
yeah,
he's a mature. He should be a young man. He was a kid, a young man by then. He's probably a full-grown man by now, 3-time All-Pro. So he guys is tough. You mentally and physically tough by now. So he should be. So I would not be surprised if that's what under the bridge, of course. If he had a grudge against the Dolphins, every time the Dolphins played the Steelers, you would have known because Fitzpatrick was jabbing his mouth, and that didn't happen. So I expect that to be more on the bridge. I would think it should be a huge deal by now.
Jason.
I mean, look, I think that this is a second chance. So everyone that he was unhappy with, I think in his first run of Miami are gone. Mentality and player and coach. I don't want to name names here, but I think it was all hinted already in the chat room. Dead on. But look, this is, I love the fact that they're bringing a player home, because we're all trying to talk about how we got to keep players home, develop talent, grow with the organization, and not just trade people at their peak and sign a free agent. Because look what happens. You got guys who want to leave when they have a good year. We're seeing that. So I like that they bring back a player, and maybe this time in a soft rebuild, he is now a piece of the rebuild, not a part of the departure of the implosion rebuild, what he was in 2019. Miami Tunsil traded, Minkah Fitzpatrick traded. So now you're bringing him back in, and you're asking them to basically, look, you're the leader of the safety room. That's bar none. And this guy could rebound from, I'm not saying he's not in his prime. 2-3 years ago, he was a beast. Last year, might have fallen off a bit. Maybe now with Anthony Weaver using him as that chess piece that Kyle Hamilton, as Sammy mentioned, this could be a resurgence, a renaissance situation, a literal and figurative 2.0 for Minkah. And I'm glad that he's a Dolphin again. And let's see what he has to say when he gets introduced.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. I want to, Costa said, will Minkah just end up being another rental, a trade to cleanse of the cap? No, he's got 2 more years left on the deal. 50. They're in it for the long haul. It seems like with him, at least for the next 2 years. He's under the contract for 15 to 17 million, a fairly good contract for a safety. So, shout out to Clownigan. What we doing for the home opener? You already know. We'll figure something out. All right. So we mentioned, how will Weaver use him, right? That's a big thing. Weaver loves the safety. I think personally, like, Minkah's a Swiss Army knife. I think you'll see, we talk about the corner issue. Maybe we'll see a lot more 3 safety sets. Obviously, Malafanu and him will probably start. You could throw in Elijah Campbell. You can put one in the nickel. He played a lot of free safety for the Steelers, but he played nickel. He played that star position. He's a guy who loves to roam the field, and you can disguise Minkah. So this has got to be Weaver's probably like this was like Weaver must have been so excited about this deal. We'll start with Sammy, Jason, and Bobby. You guys can pick up. How do you feel they're going to use him and implement him? A lot like how they used him in Pittsburgh. Remember, when he was here, he didn't like the way they were using him. So that's curious, but he's a veteran now. But all right, Sammy, we'll start with you.
On that note, the Sieler was using it the way he didn't want to be used by the Dolphins, so that's what I'm doing because that already happened. But again, Jalen Ramsey, again, over 30. So much talk about him doing that decline, maybe playing some safety, put him in the middle of the field and all that. Minkah Fitzpatrick is basically going to do that. He's going to be what we expected Jalen Ramsey to be in the middle of the field playing safety, doing everything. So I think it's perfect. It's just perfect. Anthony Weaver, like you said, he likes a lot of 3 safety sets. He loves to do a lot with his safeties, and Minkah Fitzpatrick is absolutely perfect for that. So chef kiss. I just love it. It's gonna be. I'm not the X and O's guy, and of course I defer that to Jason and to Bobby. But again, for me, at first glance, it's a perfect match. They're gonna be able to do what they wanted to do with Ramsey, and Ramsey probably didn't want to do was to play a little bit of safety. But I'll go to you guys.
I think.
go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
You good, Jason? Go ahead.
I just like the fact that you have Anthony Weaver getting a guy in Minkah that he could use as someone who we previously had that same type of a player. So it's not just a chess piece in like a Kyle Hamilton. You're getting an absolute king, a bishop of a chess piece, So I defer to however Anthony Weaver wants to use him. I'm excited to see what he does. And I'm going to be watching more Kyle Hamilton film because we finally got a player who could actually fit that bill and not just hope that someone's going to come along or maybe replicate his production. So I'm happy. I'm very happy that Fitzpatrick is back, and I can't wait to see how they use him.
A big term we hear a lot when we talk to players about Anthony Weaver is versatility. And when you have holes at safety and corner, that's music to your ears when you hear that you got an all-pro safety who's versatile. So, yeah, he can come down in the box. He can guard some of these good tight ends. He's physical, and he is a starting caliber all-pro safety. So I look forward to him being used everywhere. So get the most out of him. You have a 28-year-old guy in his prime, and get the most out of him. Take the pressure off as much as you can wherever you can. And I wanted to kind of run something by y'all because I thought about this earlier. I tweeted something out being funny, but I really do want to ask this.
Okay.
Did Chris Grier get his best draft selection ever back today?
Yes, I thought about that. You're 100% yes.
Is that what happened today?
Well,
yes. I say yes. I thought about it. I say yes.
Okay. I will tell you, it's his most convicted one because that's the one time that he banged the table and he told Mr. Ross, basically, fire me. We're taking Minkah Fitzpatrick. So that's his most. So for that, I'll say yes because it's very few and far between when Chris Grier has conviction, and he did on that one. So it's right up there.
The arguments. Go ahead, Jason.
I wasn't on the Twitter streets when Minkah was drafted. I was over on the Facebook alley, and I went absolutely. Thanks, Sandy. I went absolutely nuts when they drafted Minkah in excitement. That I was so happy with that pick. So I will answer that yes, Bobby. And again, you're bringing back someone who should have never left because that selection from Chris Grier, forget about what happened with Florida. That was the right pick. Look what he picked. He picked a 3-time All-Pro safety, and now he's back at 28.
3-time All-Pro, 3 times.
Yes, the answer
was
is
crazy.
3-time All-Pro.
Yeah,
it was crazy watching
that guy going to be a Hall of Famer by the end of his career. Let's just think about that.
Shout out to we got a Steelers fan in here. Still be pop. Great trade. Thank you. You guys, hey, listen. You guys you're getting a heck of a corner in a tight end. So you guys are going to get on both sides of the ball.
In that division,
trade that's going to help both teams.
Corner, yes.
Yeah, the biggest thing the Steelers received that I can put my name on is you got 2 guys that show up for 60 minutes every Sunday.
Yes.
They put the uniform on and they play for the team. And that's the best thing you can ask for in a trade, honestly. You're getting 2 guys that will play 60 minutes for you every week, and that's huge.
Yeah.
So the two arguments I got though on was this the best draft selection was, and Jason's gonna feel this one, was because of the value, AVG, and Laramie Tunsil also because of the value and the return we flipped for him.
The Tunsil thing.
Tunsil and Fitzpatrick is the same to me though.
Yeah, Tunsil depends if is that Tannenbaum. Or it depends how you kind of work that year, that 16.
That's a good point because when that whole thing happened, like when it started going down, I really wonder what happened in that hierarchy. Do you go out and get Tunsil?
Yeah, the Tunsil thing. Yeah, we don't know that. I still put that 16 draft on Tannenbaum, right? That he was here. I start the clock at 2019, but we can do 2018. Yeah, you make a good point. Like Yeah, it's easy to take Minkah Fitzpatrick at 11, but it's really hard to get a 5th-round pick that productive on edge. It's not hard to find. There's not many great Chris Grier draft picks, so it should be pretty easy to find.
The bad thing about the Chris Grier and ABG, and I got to get this off my chest.
Here we go.
Get this off my chest. He didn't think it was his best draft pick because he didn't resign the sucker. And when he did resign him, it was for a 1-year show me. It would have been a 5-year tell me. That's what I would have done. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. Sorry, Bobby, you hit the nerve. You knew what you were doing.
No, that's all good. Another name to throw in there, especially when it comes to Dolphins, at least.
I mean,
the one guy that did stick around, Xavier Howard, for me, that's a pretty good one.
Again, yeah, that's at 2000. Again, are we putting it on him? Let's go through. The Wilkins draft was Wilkins ABG. 2020 was obviously Tua. And we know, the rest of the guys, Hunt. It would be out of that group, Tua.
Hunt was a good one, too.
Hunt was a good one. 21, Waddle and Phillips and Holland. Obviously, I think Waddle and Phillips the best out of that group. 22, 23, nothing. 24, Chop might be one in the future here. Because speaking of Chop, we had a show planned for tonight. We'll do it next week. A fun show. I had the graphics ready, but man, I went on some film review of Chop. Stay tuned next week because this boy, that second half, he was unlocked, son. Unlocked.
Hey, I got some eyes out there in the building right now, and they say right now it's OTAs, of course, but they're like, dude, he just looks different out there. It's just like, God, the kid's special, man. They just said they talk about him all the time.
I didn't realize until I went back, because on surface you don't realize how good the little subtle nuances he did. Well, I'll save it for next week, but like, it's. I got a bold statement next week. I'm gonna make. All right. So
next week's episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, Dragon Ball. Stay tuned. All right. So I want to talk about the importance of the cornerback room. I mentioned this earlier. Do you guys think that out of all the positions here, the cornerback, we've seen it become under Grier, like we would sign, we draft corners high, we'd sign a bunch of free agents. Well, I'll start with you, Jason. Do you think the cornerback room under Weaver is less value now, or is that just, look, it's what we got? It's just all we got right now.
The Weaver construction of the defense is a focus on the front seven versus what the Flores was in the secondary, and that's where we are. Will it mask the talent? I don't want to say talent deficiency, but look, you have a bunch of undrafted, unproven, young corners on the boundary. Or you move Cater Kohu over, and I don't think you should do that because I like the way he plays in the slot. So I hope that they don't do that. And I would hope that the front seven is so fearsome that it creates a little bit of an ease for the Dolphins to mask the cornerback room. So if they don't bring in a veteran, and I still hope that they do, they can get away with it by how their defense is constructed from the first half of it, or more than the first half. You know what I'm saying?
Sammy?
I don't know about Bobby. I need to rebuild my thought. Bobby goes.
Bobby, go ahead.
I got all flustered with that.
It's okay. Mike, your mic.
Every time I'm dropping that knowledge, man.
Yeah, bro. Let's rewind that.
I keep saying that, but I'm really not saying anything.
Yeah.
That's why. I think schematically, obviously, like Jason said, that is the way they build in Baltimore. You had dude, I can't tell you how many no-name safeties they turned into huge free agent signings for other teams every year. Like Geno Stone, no one knew who that was. And so I do believe that. I will say this though, as good as that front seven in, and that's something that we have that we just haven't.
They got to stay healthy though.
Flores or Weaver, we just haven't had that kind of front seven before. It will make it a lot easier to play that kind of style and have that kind of philosophy. But I will say, cornerbacks is the one position where you can expose the defense easily and quick if the cornerbacks aren't up to par. But I do believe our front seven does take a lot of pressure off of them. But it's still a dangerous game. It's not something you can just forget about.
Yeah, you can't turn it into I'll get to you, Sammy, in a second. You can't turn it into the new offensive line room where you guys are worried about it better than we are. Especially if you mix up zone and press. I think that's something this year, maybe play a little more press. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. They ran a lot of the 3 safety stuff in Baltimore. You can run it now. You have 4 or 5 safeties now. and I'll tell you, not to tease again next week's show, but like Patrick McMorris is a guy who, from the minute I saw him in preseason, I liked. So like you talk about underrated safeties, he's a guy who can learn from Fitzpatrick. I think they're both about 6 foot 206.
Yeah, that's actually a good comp.
Yeah, they're both the same 6 foot 206. McMorris looked bigger, but I looked it up because doing research for the show. I think he's just a guy. Sometimes I've always said this when I scout players and do the draft stuff, my eyes tell me immediately. Like I see it, I feel it, right? And with McMorris, the first preseason game, I was like, well, okay, he there's something there with him, and obviously he got hurt, so he's a guy that I'll keep an eye on. But I'll go to you, Sam. Do you think 3 safeties or the cornerbacks less important, or is it just we have to train Ramsey, we have nothing else, and we'll just say that the cornerback's less important?
This is why I got a little bit flustered. There's a lot to think about. One, I had to go back when Jimmy Johnson used to be the head coach of the Dolphins. He used to he drafted young corners every single year because he knows the pass rush was key. If you had a good pass rush, the corners didn't have to be as great as you needed to be. Of course, Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain, but the Dolphins were here. But you had Trey Armstrong, you had Jason Taylor, you had a constant pass rush, so that always helped you out. The safeties, of course, is being a devalued position. But for Weaver, we were key on the safeties. So I expect them to basically. They have a lot of problems last year at times stopping the run. Where are you going? Stopping the run.
Oh no, sorry. We had a coach.
You want me to wrap it up?
No. We were saying cooking Bill Zito because he just cooked today. Re-signing all 3 guys. Go ahead. Sorry, Sammy.
Again, the safeties are the position, but again, if you have good pass rush, the corners, of course, you can take some chances on the corners. So, again. Grier has taken some chances drafting corners. Cam Smith has not panned out. Ivan Agony, didn't pan out. So, and now this is why we had the problem we have today. Those guys were the players they were supposed to be. We would not have the problem of corners today. But so it remains to be seen. So it is what it is.
Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit that like and subscribe button. We're here with Bobby Schaus from the Dive Bar, Finn Sammy from Finn's TV, of course, my co-host Jason Sarney. All right. We talk about culture, plus or minus one way or another. We got Jonnu out and Ramsey out. Fitzpatrick in. I'll start with you, Bobby.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I'll start with you. I'll start with
question I don't want first.
You put him in the spot.
All right. Jason.
Just put me in front of the firing line, Jordan. It's no problem.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Culture
You
change.
want me? I'll go first.
You want to go, Sammy? Okay.
I'm
Bobby,
a bit on my guys.
Let's Sammy take the bullet for me.
I don't mind taking the bullet for the team. Let's talk about culture again. Okay, reports are. You only know what they feed us, what the media generally feed us for us to share with you guys. They tell us that Jalen Ramsey was a kind of a malcontent at times. That there were reports about him being late and being kind of a if you know what I mean. Yeah. So when every single time the guy that leaves, is a job. If it's a job, a company, or whatever, usually takes the blame. We have problems because of that guy. That guy didn't put it through. So he's not here. He's going to get blamed for everything bad in the culture. So he's not here. Minkah Fitzpatrick, on the other hand, everything you know about him. He's a great guy. He's a kind of straight character guy. So if you go to base that and take that under consideration, the Dolphins probably have a good, trading culture change. It's probably not going to be fair for Jalen Ramsey. He's not going to be here to defend himself. On surface, of course.
Yeah, on surface.
Because Jalen Ramsey is not going to be here to defend himself. It is what it is. And Minkah Fitzpatrick is not known for being controversial or late or little player or anything like that. So from the culture, when you talk about culture, of course, the Dolphins are going to be perceived as having a good change in the culture.
I'll throw myself, since Bobby doesn't – wait, hold on, Bobby. I'll throw myself in the fire first and make my point. I will say this because we can't look over the fact Tua's boy left. Well, I mean, Minkah's, they went to Alabama. But also a guy who wanted to be here left, right? Like they keep they sent out a guy who was positive in the locker room. to what we know, right? I don't know. I saw a report today, something about Jonnu's tough to deal with. I don't know where that came from, but wasn't specifically talking about the Dolphins. I'll have to go back and look at that. But like the guys like Jonnu, he was the guy who wanted to be here.
Jason's face.
And what? Oh, because there's some report
crazy
with about Jonnu's tough to deal with, but not really talking about the Dolphins like in his previous stops. But anyway,
okay.
From what we know, everybody loved him. He wanted to be here, and you let him out the door. Another guy. So yes, we're bringing in Minkah Fitzpatrick, but let's not confuse the fact that we drafted him. He hasn't been here for a while. He's an outsider, right? Yes. So I think we got it. We're thinking Minkah Fitzpatrick draft pick. No, he's been in the league. He forgot about his time with the Dolphins, right? He's been through so many things with the Steelers. So he wasn't even here basically because yeah, that's where I'm more going with this. We'll save Bobby for last. Jason, go ahead.
What are we exactly delving into at this moment?
The switch, the 2 out, 1 in. Is it going to affect the locker room?
You know what? What I like about this, it's veterans out, and now we are looking at a lot of lower than 30-year-olds. Like last year at this time, we're looking at defenders 31, 32, 33, 30. And now who's going to step up? It's a question that doesn't need to be answered or doesn't need to be said aloud. Someone needs to step up. 4 or 5 people need to take a captain role. And I think that could it be Minkah? Could it be one of these young kids who are thrown into a cornerback fight? Could it be a Storm Duck? Could it be a Patrick Paul? I mean, there's so many, so many questions that I can't wait to see answered because of what the Dolphins are literally saying they're going to do. They need to find these answers. And the culture change foundation is there. But now the building blocks have to show that they can be leaders. And I think that Grier is doing his job to set that. I'm back again, guy. What can I say? He's did a good job. He did a good job. You got to give a guy flowers when he does a good job. But now it's on the coaching staff. It's on the players. And you know what? The last couple of years, Bobby, I'd love to get your feeling on this. I don't know if every team votes on their captains from a player standpoint. I don't know if that worked. Let's have the coaches identify them this year. Let's have the actual evaluators and the coaches say, you're a dog, you're a dog, you're a dog, and name them captains based on the staff, maybe not the player vote. And I'd like to see who comes up as a silent leader.
Isn't it usually, I think they like to let the player choose that. Is that usually, that's how it goes, right?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah. I think it's the players who choose
normally
that.
The players, like the guys you share the locker room with, you play with, you stand beside on the field, kind of know who they look at as the leader and somebody they can look up to. So, but I don't know. Maybe the title didn't mean as much in Miami the last couple of years. Maybe it kind of was like a, just another culture thing. I don't know. Maybe it was just kind of glitter. It wasn't really
here's
meaningful.
a go. Win an effing Super Bowl. That's the culture.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a weird thing. You know me. I like to take these. Sometimes I like to take it to a dark place. And I got conspiracy theories.
Dark place.
All right. Do you think like does this signal a little bit like not giving Tua everything he wants all the time? Like, I know it sounds crazy. I'm not saying they're moving off Tua and they're building a different roster for the future, but like normally Tua wants Jonnu Smith. Let's get it done. In a crazy world, it's just my, I like to look at different angles. Is this a little bit of like, all right, Tua, we're doing, you've kind of been standoffish. We're kind of, we're not going to give you everything that you want, right? Like, I know I'm probably making something out of nothing here, but like, do I have any grounds to stand on here?
I have a quick theory on that.
Oh, here we go. Fuck you. I told you I was taking you to a dark place.
In terms of that specific question,
you took us in a make-believe place.
No, but think about it.
I get that.
He publicly stated that was his dude, right? That's his guy.
But what was he going to say?
Correct.
Correct. 1 year, $12 million deal extension.
But Tua also knows that if that doesn't happen, and maybe someone could refresh his memory, I'm sure he knows, he led the league in passing in 2023, and the tight end was Durham Smythe. And he had 22 catches. So it's not a necessity. And what I would love, just to expand
they better start running the football. Or it's going to be a necessity because if they don't start running the football,
they have a different why.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it, George. Though I think it's a up top philosophy realization that the structure we had is not.
Yeah, that's what maybe that's my point.
Work, doesn't work and does not work in December and January. So it looks cool in September having Jonnu, Tyreek, Waddle all running around crazy. And don't get me wrong, this has nothing to do with Jonnu Smith. Love Jonnu Smith. 10 out of 10 player, 10 out of 10 human. But reality of the situation is they're going to more of a power look formation in the inside the trenches, and Jonnu doesn't really fit that. And you can't have 3 mouths to feed it all the time. You just can't have it. We need more Indians. We got too many Chiefs.
Right. And when we talk about the 23 offense, though, I know Jason, that was a 9-game sample size. That's gone. That was a 9-game sample size. That's all that was. But I agree with you. I think if the reason Jonnu was so successful is they couldn't run it was almost like the negative, what they couldn't do well helped Jonnu because they couldn't run the ball. Teams were playing, quarter and shell defense. The middle of the field was wide open, so it's a good point. Jason, go ahead. I digress. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not saying they need to replace Jonnu with a tight end who's going to catch 80 passes. No. If they're going to go out and get a tight end, got to be a blocker, got to be a dog in that part of the game, got to be more Y and line. But if you don't do that, you have an ability to amortize those targets that Jonnu got to an NWI, to a Malik Washington.
I had that on my
Devon Achane more into receiver role. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you run the ball, you have a Pharaoh Brown or a Julian Hill, but you have a blocking-based tight end to help run the ball. And when you need to find those targets, your third, fourth guy, the Dolphins have candidates behind Tyreek Hill and Waddle who could be the third, fourth, and even fifth guy when you look at those second, third, fourth targets.
I think what you said, and I've always said this, NWI, when we talk between the 20s, Malik Washington, when they go 11 formation, Malik Washington is going to be the third receiver. Between the 20s, he fits this offense more. I think the Jonnu receiving stuff, they need it. NWI takes that role. Mm-hmm. Okay? I think he's the one because he's not that quick twitch, beat you to a spot. He never fit this offense. That's why he was struggling in training in OTAs until they got to the red zone work. That's where he does his work, in the red zones, in the middle of the field. And I think he's just as good. I'll be honest, he's just as good as blocker as Jonnu Smith was.
Hey, pull up Jake's comment. He just nailed it. That's exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Our 11 personnel. Yep. And we just talked about that. And you can get away with a Pharaoh Brown. And as much as everybody hates Julian Hill, if you're running the football successfully and it opens up the other stuff, you can get away with that classic wide tight end, the Pharaoh Brown, the Julian Hill, and they'll bring somebody in like a Michael Myers, a perfect world, because he can do a little bit of everything. But those guys don't grow on trees, right? Like they don't. That's why you see him get drafted pretty early. A Tyler Warren goes 14. Those guys don't grow on trees. So yeah, I'll bring it back. I just thought, I don't know. I get a sense that they're not like bowing down to Tua as much as they used to. Maybe that's my general thought. Like I don't know if there's anything to that because they were everything they did was Tua. And publicly, I've seen them a little bit more critical of him. And as well as I do, Bobby, he's been a little standoffish, right, with the organization. Like I just think in a weird way, they're not. It's not as much. Okay, let's walk around eggshells with Tua anymore. I don't know. That's just my thought. Maybe I worded it wrong, but anyways, I got to bring the dark side out. I got to be the one to take us there.
There could be like little influential things involved in all of it, but all in all, I just think it's at the top.
Yeah,
they realized that what they built wasn't sustainable and didn't work in January.
Right. So basically, what we all said for the last 5 years since they started the rebuild, they're figuring out. Your general manager, your general manager, Chris Grier.
Look, this is another reason why I don't want Kyle Pitts, though, because we don't need the
same.
Thank
you.
But that's why I said that earlier. It wasn't
just like value. I like value. I'm a big value guy.
I hear you, but here's what you're going to put yourself into. You said you love getting a guy and resurrecting him. You're going to be in Jonnu Smith 2.0 situation next offseason when he needs to be paid, and you're going to trade for a guy that's a one-year rental again. That's the only thing.
Move on.
That's fine. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. But I don't want another mouth to feed. Like we can incorporate Jalen Wright, Achane, Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook. We can incorporate all those guys and feed Waddle and Tyreek.
My hope, I
want a tight end that comes in and it surprises him when he catches a fucking pass.
I'll tell you when we're going to know this. And we're going to know this hopefully relatively soon if this whole thing is working. Let's go to week 1. right? You should beat the Colts. You should beat the Colts. Like right now, you should beat the Colts. If you are up by 1 touchdown or 1 possession, it is the 4th quarter, and you have a 7-minute drive running the ball up to just one side where that tight end is helping to block, then you'll know that. When you could do that on 3rd and inches, 4th and short, on the road, when they can have no fear of running, you know where it's going, but that new 11 personnel, that Y-based blocking tight end is going to help be the extension of the offensive line and just run the damn ball 3 feet. They didn't do that last year because of many reasons.
We don't have to be married to the outside zone all the time. And this is what I hope's going on. I thought the Jonnu draft pick signaled that. I thought the Ollie Gordon draft pick. You didn't draft like the kid from Virginia Tech.
The Jonnu draft pick.
Savanaya. What did I say? Jonah.
Jonah.
The
Jonah.
We were talking about him so much. I was like,
the Savanaya Hawaii draft pick. Jonah S.
Yeah.
Ollie Gordon, before they would have took the Virginia Tech running back, Tootin. Like all this to me, I think they're finally getting it. But unfortunately, here's the question we have to ask though. They're getting it how come all of us on this screen knew 4 years ago this is the way it was going to go and they're doing it now? So like that's why I hold my enthusiasm for Grier and this whole thing. And by the way, somebody messaged me and said, "Oh, what are you talking about? Mike McDaniel's not in the hot seat." I don't care what anybody tells me. Mike McDaniel's job is on the line this year. Okay, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think he's very much in the hot seat. Everybody think, "Oh, he's coming back with Grier." No, he's got to win games this year. He's got to get a playoff win. He's got to produce, or because you got a guy on the staff that I don't know how good of a coach Weaver is, but look how they're catering to the personnel he likes on defense. This defense, you have a guy who's next year going to be a candidate, and you want him, you might have to get him now. So he's very much on the hot seat. That's just a little something I throw because somebody told me, "Oh, you keep saying McDaniel's on the hot seat." Brother, he's on the hot seat. It's real hot.
Here's the problem, though, and this is like fans in general, including myself. The problem is you can say Chris Grier should be fired till you turn blue, but reality is Chris Grier shows up every year right in front of you. So hard. It's hard for people.
Grier's a different story.
It's hard for people to think these people are going to be fired when they have no reason to believe it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just base it off of history and how the Dolphins normally work.
Right.
I do believe that he's on the hot seat.
Yeah. Grier, you will not get – I will never say Grier's going to be fired again until it actually happens. I think there's a lot of things in life that'll happen before that happens, and I don't understand it. But McDaniel, you would probably agree. I think you also – it's hot. It's sizzling.
Somebody's got to go down, unfortunately. And I believe that would be McDaniel's if the season falls apart. Yeah. Also, I think with Grier, it's going to be one of those situations where, like, when the old guy that used to be productive kind of starts falling off, his hands don't work like they used to, and you can't fire old Leroy, so you move him into a role.
Another role, yep.
We don't pay you as much.
Pseudo promotion.
It's not critical work. You can't get injured. Sit over there and put bolts on nuts. And I think that's going to be the Grier thing. I don't think he'll ever be fired for a lot of reasons. We don't have to get into all of them. I think he knows. He knows a lot. He knows a lot. He's been in the organization for 20 years. You don't cross that guy.
He knows where the bodies are buried, where the shovels were, who signed them out, where they are now. He knows it all.
He knows more than that because.
So yeah, I feel like even if he is moved, he'll be promoted or
that's what
transition to a different.
And then you'll either one of the guys will come up, either Brandon Shore or the new guy they got. They'll do some sort of weird maneuvering, kind of please the fans, and Anthony Weaver will be the coach, and we'll do this again in 3 or 4 years. The whole Ferris wheel here. Sammy, you've been quiet. Let's get you in. Your thought is McDaniel on the hot seat?
I will have to go back like 3 something's behind me. You just let me. I'm just
sorry.
I have to go back to the topic before.
Go back wherever you want to go back.
I love Tua, but right now I don't care what he wants.
You agree with me or no?
I care about what he needs, and last year he got what he wanted. He got a pass catching tight end, and basically we had the worst offense in the Niner era. So I don't care about that. I want him to be protected. I want him to run the ball. I want to control the clock. That's what I want for Tua. So if Jonas gets out of here and that's what it takes, I don't care. My Daniel, I don't know. Sometimes I'm on the record saying I'm one of the first on the record saying that I've never been a huge believer in Mike McDaniel. You know me. I have differences with my own guys on Fizz TV because I've never been a huge McDaniel guy. I've never been a huge McDaniel believer. I think he's a great play designer, but not a great play caller. He wasn't even the offensive coordinator for the 49ers. He was basically a run game coordinator. He didn't call plays. So, it is what it is. Now he has to be a different kind of coach. He has to be, like we thought before, the substitute teacher. No, it's just the substitute teacher. Like Jason said, that Kramer episode, that type of episode where Kramer Seifert starts to be a tough guy and Kramer's just laughing in his face. He's just rounding the money on that. So Mike McDaniel had a huge job ahead of him trying to be someone different that he usually was. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't know. If you ask me who I want for next coach of the Dolphins, that's another topic. I'll tell you next time. But I don't think it's going to be Anthony Weaver. I think Anthony Weaver's out the door as soon as he can, because
that's part of the
right now what's he need to. He's out of here too.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. You want to say something, Bobby?
You pulled that Daniel comment up. One thing that the first part's crazy, but one thing he does make a good point about is the Dolphins always seem to have built-in excuses. So and that's another reason why these guys keep their jobs. Always could be like, but the injuries. Imagine if they stayed healthy. It's like they always got some kind of built-in excuse, and that is another one. It's like they could be like, we went from the most experienced team in the league to the second youngest this offseason. We're gonna need a little time to retool this thing a little bit. I can see that definitely being a thing.
Yeah, Daniel, I'm curious. I'm wrong a lot of the times, but I'm pretty confident that if Mike McDaniel doesn't have a meet the expectations, he's not going to be back.
But what are the expectations? If he goes 9-8, he doesn't make the play. So he's fired?
Yes.
I don't think he's fired. I don't think Stephen Ross fired.
They cannot come back. They can't win 8 or 9 games and come back with the same regime. If you're not getting rid of Grier, can't happen. Cannot happen.
How old is Stephen Ross?
Cannot you, especially when you have a guy in the staff that's capable and you could lose him. Cannot happen. You can't. Now, if they win a playoff game, if they make the playoffs, okay, there's an argument. You have the excuse. But if you do the same thing you did last year, no way you can bring him back. Just no way. Grier will be back because he'll never leave. But I'm sorry. Look what they've done this offseason. Look. Yes, they got Minkah Fitzpatrick back, but look at everything else they've done this offseason. Does it look like a team that's trying to go in for their coach and help their coach out? Look at the signs. He's the one that's going to take the fall. I'm pretty confident in that. Let me get Jason and Bobby's opinion. Do you agree with Daniel? And shout out Daniel. I love the comments, and I like that if you disagree. I love that. In the video, in the comments, in the chat, I have no problem with that. This is what this show's about. You guys, do you agree or disagree?
I agree that – go ahead, Jason.
It's hard to say that a coach is not on a hot seat when no one's won the playoff game and you're on year 4 and you have to win a playoff game.
Somebody's got to take the ball.
You could say that relatively, but the point that you make, Daniel, on the youth movement, what helps McDaniel is the younger the team gets, a little bit better.
Youth movement for the next coach.
Potentially.
Weaver, young defensive player.
Weaver. If you're in the bye week, which is week 12 for the Dolphins, and you are 2 games below 500, there should be a firing. And there should be the opportunity for Weaver to put in place. Now, if you are 2 games above 500, if you are going into the last 5-6 games, able to make the playoffs, then you have to look at that in an entirely new light and fraction of the season. Can McDaniel get over the hump? If he does, great. He might have another year. If he doesn't, why? Is it players? Is it penalties? Is it lack of timely decisions? Because there's a lot of things that McDaniel has to improve on, whether he wants to retain his job as a head coach for Miami or whether he wants to just stay as a head coach in the NFL. Timeout usage, challenge flag usage, the ability to be a delegator properly and having the people that he delegates jobs to do those jobs correctly. So there's a lot that he has to fix. He's got a lot of good, got a lot to fix, but the plan is in place, I believe, to at least give Weaver a shot in season if it's a disaster.
I'm kind of the point guard of the show, and I'm holding my hand up. You want to go, Bobby? I'll just make
I was just mocking you.
Yeah. I just want to make a point here. The biggest thing with McDaniel is, again, now he's got to take control of the locker room and cross this line of scrimmage. I've always said that. You can't just be the buddy with the quarterback anymore. That's over with. That's ran out. You're not the head coach of Tua anymore. You're the head coach of this team. You faced adversity. Now it's time to see the real head coach come out. Can you motivate Jordan Brooks and have him run through a wall for you and believe that you can lead this team? Not this, like you said, Sammy, the substitute teacher philosophy. How long does a substitute teacher have to stay till you kind of respect him as a real teacher? The answer is never, right? That's what he's got to do, is control this and how these guys can't run the asylum. When I forget who it was it Bradley Chubb who said, yeah, we got it in the I mentioned on one of the other shows, yeah, we got to learn to take Coach McDaniel more seriously. When he jokes and smiles, he's actually being serious. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? So that's where he's got to take the step. Even more than the ridiculous coaching challenges he calls that, nobody in the world understands why he's challenging the call. But even the in-game management, the clock management, the most important thing is being a leader of men. That's what a coach is. And what I always said, to be feared but also liked and respected is a fine line. That's what the great coaches do. Again, he's liked, but is he feared and respected? I think the answer is no, and that's where he's got to take the big jump. God, that was a good little rant. That was Go ahead, Bob. I was even impressed myself a little bit. I'm sorry.
And speaking of impressed, I want to give a shout out to the chat for real.
The chat's killing it, bro.
Today stirred up everybody. So, of course, people got a lot to talk about, but I do want to shout out the chat. It's some of it's been harsh and crazy, and I love every second of it.
Sin Blue's standing on the he's standing on the table.
Dude, Sign Blue has been going at it since the start of this podcast, and you are welcome at the dive bar anytime you want. Because, dude, that's what like George says. I love it. People keeping it real. Hey, let it off your chest. That's why we do this stuff, man. We all come here.
Call it out. Yeah.
We all come here to get it all.
Mark Anthony. Sorry. Go ahead.
So the chat's been going crazy, man, and they've been at it the whole night. So it's been fun.
Shout out to he wants more of the dark side. I got to bring the dark side. All right. I don't even know where we were. Sam, you got anything to add on that? I don't even know where we were. I need a minute to regroup here.
What else does Tua need?
Tua is like Nick Cannon for the movie Money. Doesn't cost a thing. McDaniel. Yo, that's my bro, Clown Prince. Shout out to you.
Oh my God!
You're never gonna find a Mike McDaniel and Christina Milian comp on the other show.
Oh man.
Wow.
Chat. Yeah. So guys, make sure you hit that. I want to see a lot of likes on this video. I want to see a lot of likes, a lot of thumbs up, some more subscriptions. Not only here, but you guys go to the dive bar and do the same thing over there because they got great content. I'll let Bobby will tease what he's got going on tomorrow at the end. So your boy Raheem Mostert, Bobby, you had him on. He threw a little. Oh, let me read the quote.
I don't know about little is the word to put in that at all.
He was Raheem Mostert from his home on Monday in Las Vegas. Hot take: be a Pro Bowler in the Dolphins, get treated like shit. Happy for my guys though. Go ball out. Ooh, that boy salty and kind of the theme you had when you had him on your show. Shout out to the dive bar. Do you want to start there with you, Bobby? Are you okay starting with you on the Raheem Mostert stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of had him on refresh. You kind of had that vibe when you had him on the show. We talked backstage about that.
We asked him kind of like, what can McDaniel improve on, or what is it going to take to get to the next level? Yeah. If you haven't watched the Raheem Mostert episode, not just because it's my show, but it's very informative. It was a very raw, candid, honest, and it was very truthful about his time in Miami and what they need to change and what they need to work on. So, I don't think he really enjoyed his time there at the end in Miami. I don't think he really respected the staff as much. And we've heard that a little bit. And I do think some of it is like he wanted to be in Miami and it didn't work out. Of course, when you're headed out the door, it's always convenient or easy to say these things. But dude, I think he was sitting on that thing for a hot six months, man.
That tweet didn't just come. That just didn't come out right away. He had that ready to go. Sammy, your thoughts on Raheem Mostert? Are you surprised or?
First of all, while Raheem Mostert was here, he was one of my favorite players. He's a correct character guy. He gave his all in the field, but last year he didn't have the best season. The Dolphins treated him really well. They basically gave him a raise and a contract extension when we didn't question if he was due to to make a change at running back. So for him to say that, I thought was kind of rich. I didn't think it was fair, considering he didn't have the best season last year. So the Dolphins treated him very, very well before that. So I can understand. It's like Bobby says, when you're out the door, sometimes you thought things were gonna go different ways, like when you have a breakup and you're still kind of bitter. So it's understandable. Probably in a couple of years, he's back at the Dolphins facility as alumni. Everything's under the bridge. But today, I'll be honest, I read sour grapes. I was very disappointed at Raheem Mostert for saying that. I would have wished he took the high road for that. But it is what it is. If he felt he needed to say that, kudos to him. But I thought it was wrong for me.
Something that Sammy reminded me of as well. One of his biggest things was he was there was time when he wasn't healthy and earlier in the year, and he understood why he wasn't playing then. But apparently, down the stretch, he felt like he was fully healthy. And I'm just telling you what he said, but he felt he was fully healthy, and he was kind of just sitting on the sidelines, not being used. And he didn't really understand that when he was putting in the work, and he felt like he could help his team. And then he went to like McDaniel on the sidelines, like, "Hey, what's going on, man? Like, what's the deal?" And he was basically told like, "This security come get him away from me." Like, they couldn't get an answer out of him. So that was.
And my dad should have been honest that you're fumbling too much, because if you remember, he was fumbling a lot.
I still think he was the best back
because he caused a lot of momentum for the Dolphins. Every time he was healthier, but he fumbled a lot. That's the truth, and that's why my dad wasn't a player. He was fumbling a lot.
Yeah, I still think he was the best back that season.
I know it. He's a great guy, and he's a great. At his best, one of the best.
But look, this is Jason. I'll let you go in a second, but this is what I'm talking about when we talk about on surface the culture thing. Like, again, Jonnu's leaving, a guy wanted to be here. Like, most are still cool with a lot of these guys in the locker room. So, like, again, we just think because Minkah Fitzpatrick was a rookie, a Dolphins draft pick, you're losing a guy everybody knew in the locker room. You're gaining one that pretty much not a lot of people are that familiar with. Obviously, they know in league circles. But anyways, yeah, that's just thought. Jason, go ahead. Your thoughts on the Mostert stuff.
My eyebrows went up when I saw it, and I was reading the tweet, and I was like, oh. But when you really look at it, Raheem is a 33-year-old running back now. He had a record-breaking season for the Dolphins at 31 when everything just went perfect for a 30-plus-year-old running back. Not to take away from him, but this was a show business, not show friends situation. It just you have younger backs. You're trying to go younger. You mentioned that he did get some money after, that he put up that year. So there could be some sour grapes. Look, there could be some sour grapes still because he was a Dolphin in 2015 and was cut. And there could be residual sour grapes from that and other stops that he made before hitting with the Niners and then coming to Miami under McDaniel. So, and now he's in Vegas where he might be in the wrong spot to get touches because of what they have there. So there could – trust me when I say this. Social media sometimes is not the best place to vent, and this is kind of one of those situations. Are you allowed to vent? Absolutely. Are sometimes words taken out of context because you're only tweeting in those words and it's not verbally said, it's read? Not the time and the place.
Yeah. And
I wish he didn't write that, but I could also say that I'm sure that there's some levels of understanding from a guy like he is.
You get. I agree with. I kind of jumping off what Bobby and Sammy said. Like Bobby said, you could tell that was bent up frustration that he's had waiting to hit that send button. And I agree though too. It's just like it's been a minute now. Like why do that? But again, I don't think at the end of the day it's not a big deal. It just makes me wonder what's kind of going on in that locker room even more. But anyways, we'll wrap it up here pretty soon. What's next then? Like, when are we going to talk Zach Sieler trade? Is that happening now or?
Whoa, what the?
Oh, no.
Now that's the dark side.
That's
too dark. That's too dark.
All right. So they freed up some money. Let me reel it back in, boys. Reel it back in. That was just for my boy Blue, who wanted me to go dark.
That's my boy Blue.
That was even too dark for Blue. That was
yeah. You crossed the line, and Blue is not agreeing with a bad take.
All right, so they freed up a little bit of money. We think they're going to go after maybe a tight end and a corner, right? But as far as like, do you see the Zach Sieler stuff getting done? This help it get done quicker? Anybody wants to jump on that first, and kind of what do you think is next?
I know that I think that Dolphins and Zach have had back and forth this all season. I think that he is, if anybody was going to get some money this offseason, it'd be Zach Sieler. I don't think anybody would argue with that. I'm not breaking news here. I think Zach is the heart and soul of the Miami Dolphins, and specifically the defense. And you don't lose Wilkins and then turn around and lose Zach Sieler. That's just not the way to go about it. So yeah, I mean, Zach Sieler, pay the man. Do not do this to us right now.
Yeah,
do not do this to us.
Wait, you want to go with my McDaniel's fired argument, and you want to lose the locker room completely? Yeah, you trade Zach Sieler. you pretty much yeah. But all kidding aside, yeah. I hope something gets done with him, Jason.
1,000%. He only has 1 year under his belt as a captain. He will have several more wherever he plays. You got to keep him home. You're losing captains left and right. Yes, I know you're trying to get younger, but he is, too good of a player entering or being in his prime, even at 32. You have to give him his money. You have to.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. You don't have to go in the argument of why they're going to keep him. I believe they're going to keep him. But yeah. Go ahead, Sammy.
I'm not so sure they're gonna keep him, but it's not gonna be right now. I expect him to play. I expect him to play as a Dolphin this season. No, I expect the Dolphins to pay him either after this season, but I don't think he will. I think he's gonna get traded after this season.
Oh, okay. So maybe I wasn't that crazy.
No, I don't know that crazy. I think he's gonna get traded, but not right now.
Well, here's what you need to. Yeah. I
don't think it's right. I don't want him to get traded, but
if this young group shows enough potential, I mean, unfortunately, that's how the sustained success is built. You don't pay the 30-year-old. You go get the 22-year-olds and a bunch of them. You let them fight for their money, and that's just reality. They grabbed 3 defensive tackles this draft alone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
and they're all young.
All 21 or younger.
Phelps is a baby.
I think Biggers is going to play this year. Like, I remember when Bo Camper said, bro, he went out there, thought this guy was going to be like some fat, like, kind of sloppy guy. He's a
mountain.
He thought Zeke Biggers was going to look like me, but then he turned out he looked like, whoa, he's a 6'6", long arm, kind of Adonis, and just what you saw on the tape. Like
I'll never forget. I thought
on the UM game. Put on the UM game.
Like build wise, I thought Kenneth Grant was as big as they come in this class. And then I would never forget in OTAs when they started posting pictures. And I was like, they were like, look at Kenneth Grant. And I'm like, I would, but I can't take my eyes off that one.
Yeah,
dude, boy. Zeke Biggers made Kenneth Grant look small.
It's like
and he moves like he moves well.
34.5-inch vertical for a man that size.
Basketball player.
Lower body explosion. That's what that shows, fellas. Lower body explosion.
He should have played offensive guard. Come on.
What did Weaver say? Shocked. Again, everything's what Weaver wants. Are you seeing the theme, guys? Weaver, safety he wants, the defensive tackle he wanted, all the 3 defensive tackles in the draft. Yo, Weaver's got a big say in that room, so let's not.
Mike Tomlin's gonna love those guys in 2026. Come on.
I love how
Mike Tomlin is gonna love all those guys.
George is wearing his tinfoil hat this episode. He's got all these conspiracies. He's like the Sunny in Philadelphia gif where he's like brainstorming in front of the wall.
You throw enough to the wall, one will stick, brother.
Yeah, I know a guy who does that a lot, but I'm not gonna say who it is. Let's get moving.
I just think I don't know. I think here's what I'll say. I think we're gonna hear more stories that come out about all this stuff in the Dolphins locker room that we're not hearing now. I think it'll all come out, even after this trade. Like Ramsey, I think Ramsey will run his mouth to the media, kind of back channels. I just think we're going to hear – I just think this Dolphins situation is a lot – I mean, how do I put it? There's just a lot more going on than on the surface that we're seeing here. And I can't shake that. A couple of things I've heard. I know Bobby knows some of them, but just – I don't know. I think we'll hear more stuff. At the end of the day, winning cures all, and that's the bottom line, right? We talk about all
Raheem Mostert wasn't happy because of what he said. John wasn't happy because he wanted to get paid. Jalen Ramsey, of course, wasn't happy. The only one who still wasn't happy still here is Tyreek Hill, but they just got moving. So
who knows?
There are some. I'm not gonna drop these. I have never dropped these. I don't drop these for the people who pay for my information because some things just aren't worth stirring because the ramifications are, and they probably end up being nothing. So why even put there's some players on this team that if I told you at one point last year in the middle of the season, they wanted off this team and out of here, it would absolutely blow your mind. And I'm not even going to go there, but things got real. Like, it was real. Like, things got real murky last year before Tua came back.
Any single digit numbers or no?
Dude.
I didn't say
don't. George brings me on these shows and starts milking. What can I get out of this?
That's my talent. That's my gift, bro. That in the draft. That's my specialty.
Well, that's why I really thought anything was possible at the end of the year. And then 24 hours after this, was it even 24 hours or like 3 hours after the last game, they put that alert out that they're sticking to everything.
Quick. It was real quick.
No, and I want to say this. Bobby is a guy who nurtures his relationships with the players, and he builds trust with them. And again, he doesn't tell me 5% of the things. That he there's 95% more that he knows that he doesn't even tell me. So, like, I want to put that out there. I joke with him, but like, you nurture your relationship, you take it very seriously, your relationship with players, and that's kind of how you have your show and all your guests. So I want to get that out there. I joke aside, but like, it's something you do and you take pride in. So I got to say that because sometimes I can get a little too dark, and for some reason I was getting dark in this show.
He loves that word, man.
Yeah, I don't know why. Wow, let's just shout out to Bill Zito for cooking today. Not only Chris Grier bringing Marchand back, Ekblad, and who am I forgetting? Ekblad,
Sam Bennett.
Boy, can
who lives in South Florida?
Huh? Oh yeah, you. I don't know you. Maybe you. But man, can we find our Bill Zito? That's all we need, man. That's all we need, guys, is to find our Bill Zito. All right, I think we can wrap it up here. I don't think there's nothing else that we've gone on for about an hour and 16 minutes. Yo, chat. Shout out to the chat. Unbelievable fire. It was the questions, the comments. This was the draft panel we had on draft day. This is one of my favorite kind of us four, the kind of panel. Usually has great chemistry like you see, and we had a good time. So make sure you guys like and subscribe to the video. Before we get out of here, I'm going to start one by one. Bobby, tell them what you got going on. What you got going on tomorrow. I don't know if you announced it already. I think you did, right?
Yeah. So in general, if come on over to the Dive Bar podcast, we do a lot of player interviews, and during the season we do everything. Cover the draft. Every week we have shows weekly. But we have Malik Washington tomorrow night, and then I'm not going to drop any more names, but we're either recording or going live Thursday night with another Dolphins player. And then I have some rookies lined up for hopefully after the 4th. We'll see how that falls. But yeah, constantly working, constantly trying to bring players and getting perspectives in ways you haven't seen them before. So the Dive Bar podcast, come on over.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys go check them out. Sammy.
Well, right now we are still under construction. We're not going to be back until late June, but of course, and also just at Phoenix TV _.
Yeah, and you'll find him making appearances. Sammy's been on an appearance tour. He's been everywhere.
Sammy experience.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But you'll find him on here. He's a friend of the program. Jason, besides next Monday, we got to look. I want everybody to watch this show Monday, not because we put a lot of work into it, and there's a lot of good stuff to find out. We're going to break down kind of the guys we think could take the huge leap. It was supposed to happen tonight, but that's next Monday. We're just going Mondays right now until the training camp and regular and preseason, all that hits. Then we're going to go full force, and we'll have a schedule and all that good stuff. But other than that, Jason, what do you got going on?
Appreciate everybody who comes on over and reads my stuff over at the Dolphins Wire, and of course over on Twitter, where I do nothing to get myself in trouble at Jason_Sarney.
Yeah, something happened today, right? Yeah. All right, we'll leave it at that.
I don't even know if it did, but it might have. Who knows? Somewhere.
And I'll say this: today was a great day for all of us because
yes.
For us content creators, you need stuff to make content off of. So thank you, Chris Grier. Today was one of those. We were like falling in a lull. It's that time of the off season. They call it the dead period.
Yeah.
We were kind of like, dude, how do we keep pushing? Man, Chris Grier just gave us enough to get us all the way to training camp, maybe week 3.
Yeah.
So great. It's a great time to be making content, and it's a great time to have awesome fans and people supporting you.
Yeah. No, and keep going, Chris. Let's stay a little busy the next few weeks. All right, guys. As always, guys, fins up for Jason, Sammy, Bobby, and myself. We're out. Fins up.